Hello, a hearty welcome to all participants at the EA Global Summit 2023. I'm Anup, part of the EAGS organizing team. It brings me immense joy to greet each and every one of these individuals in this virtual setting, where each Sparks EA users from across the globe converge to learn, collaborate, and share the invaluable experiences. Whether you're a seasoned luminary in the world of Sparks EA or are just embarking on your journey, rest assured, this summit holds something significant to each and every one of you. Our distinguished lineup of speakers comprises experts renowned in the sparxSCA community, all poised to share their wealth of expertise. Today, our keynote speaker, Phil Shadley, Principal Consultant at Dunstan Thomas, will provide valuable insights in the titular session, Document Generation, Back to Basics. However, this event isn't solely about presentations, it's about fostering collaboration. Let's take full advantage of the networking opportunities, engage with fellow attendees, and interact with our speaker following the session in our vibrant Slack community. If by chance you have missed your Slack invitation, you may promptly access it through the link provided in the GoToWebinar chat box. Additionally, we strongly encourage your active participation through our questions. Please submit your inquiries in the Q&A window as well. The speaker will address select questions at the conclusion of the session, followed by continued engagement with you in Slack. So without any further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Phil as we kick things off. Over to you, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for the introduction, much appreciated, and a very warm welcome to everybody attending this session. My name, as is said, is Phil Shadley, and I've been using Enterprise Architect. So you may be curious as to why we're going back to the basics. Well, over the 17 years, using many consultancies, training, one of the most common questions we get from our clients is, we got all these fantastic models, we got all these diagrams, we got all these elements, but how do we actually share it with our stakeholders? More specifically, how do we publish through Word or PDF using our own in-house styles? Because we still have a need to publish documents. And they tend to struggle with the documentation generator in Enterprise Architect. So the motivation for today's session is to go right the way back to the beginning, go back to the fundamentals, and then build upon those fundamentals once you've got them established to do the more exciting stuff. So today we've got an hour, not a long time, because documentation is a very, very big subject. But we're going to cover the following. So we're going to give you a bit of background about how the documentation generator works. Then I have a look at templates, which is the beating heart of documentation. And then the vast majority of this session will be me using Enterprise Architect version 16.1 64-bit to create templates and create documentation live. Right, so there are some pre-built templates to save a bit of time, but all the essentials will be covered for you. So the background is basically EA has for many, many years been able to generate Word document and PDF document using a template or generally a series of templates. And these templates basically give instructions to the documentation generator as to what you'd like to be published, how you'd like it to appear, and what data, if applicable, you'd like to publish. And that is known as a template. Now, templates are incredibly dumb. I'm using that word kindly. They have no logic. There's no programming in a general template. So it's one size fits all. So if you say, for example, oh, I'd like to print the element name. Well, that will be an element of use cases, actors, classes, interface, no matter what. There's no specific template for a specific element, is what I'm trying to say there. And generally, you drive them by selecting a package within your browser. But more about that later. And generally, a typical document will be many templates, as we'll see over the next hour or so. Now, templates can be combined, and there are several ways we can do it. The historical way, and the way that I will demonstrate today, and it's the way that I tend to do it, it's just the way I do it, other ways are available, is master model documents, which create a model of your document effectively. I also use template fragments. Well, fragments are an advanced feature, so although we'll mention them today, we won't be specifically doing fragments because unless you know the basics, you won't understand a fragment. Perhaps we can have another session on fragments. And custom document is a new feature in Enterprise Architect, of which there are excellent webinars and presentations and videos for you to have a look at how to put templates. Basically, it's a way of assembling your templates in a special element within your browser, and you can preview the document within Enterprise Architect. So templates. Well, templates can be standard, which is what we're mostly going to concentrate on today. A style sheet, which gives you your own look and feel. We will be covering that. Cover page, which is probably the easiest template of the lot. And table of contents. Now, I have to be honest about this. My own personal opinion is don't bother with a table of contents. I know I'm being negative, but what is a table of contents in EA? Well, it's not exactly customizable. It gives you a table of contents, absolutely. But when you generate the Word document, the table of contents is not hyperlink active. So you can't use the table of contents to navigate through your document, which is why, personally, I don't use them. Fragment. Well, you can have a standard fragment based upon what we're going to do today. You can have a SQL query driven fragment and a script fragment. Those, as you probably get, is a more advanced feature. You got to know SQL, you got to know JavaScript. So we won't be dealing with those, but I'll mention them towards the end of the session. So now we're going to switch over to Enterprise Architect, and we're going to build it up incrementally. We're going to do the simplest template you could possibly think of, just a diagram. But, there's always a but with EA. There are some surprises, so watch out for that. Then, what most people want to use a template for, element properties. And just for fun, we'll put them in a table. And we're going to access collections, preconditions, scenarios, postconditions, and related requirements. We'll create a style sheet, put it all together, have an overview of headers and footers, and finally, we'll do list overrides and a cover page. So without further ado, let's get into Enterprise Architect. So here's Enterprise Architect with a repository already open. Now this repository is fairly small, so we can concentrate on the matter in hand. And so what we've got is a series of requirements organized into packages. We've got a series of use cases with an actor library and some various diagrams. So we've got a diagram at the top level, and we've got diagrams at the lower level. Typical arrangement. Now, one thing I will say right at the very beginning, how you structure your repository can and does affect your strategy in your template. Now, generally speaking, what I do with my models, other people have different opinions, there are other patterns available, of course, is to have one diagram in one package, and I'll explain a little bit why in a moment. I also have elements which are not reusable in the same package as the diagram. And then, of course, I do have reusable elements in a library. And I'll mention the options of accessing those in a little while. So this is the repository which we're going to use. And there are several ways of adding template. But the way that I do it is to use the Resources tab, expand that, and you'll see Custom Templates. So basically, we create a template, and up comes a little dialog. Now, I would recommend that you always put your templates in a group. This identifies your templates quite easily. It makes them, all organized. And I always begin my template with the group as a prefix. So in this case, I'm just going to call my template use case details. Template type is templates, which is the standard template. You can copy the ones that sparxsystems have done. Yes, you could, provided you know how the template was created and what you're looking at. If you don't, then it gets a little bit challenging to actually modify it, in my humble opinion. So the group is ECP. And another reason for prefixing your template name is you're guaranteed to make this template name unique. So when comes generation time, you're not going to get confused with any template that may already exist in the repository, possibly one supplied by sparxsystems. Right, so now we come to the heart of this. Now, this is the template editor. It hasn't changed very much over the years. And once you get used to it, it's actually okay. So this part is what you see is nearly what you get, text editor, with the various aspects in its own dedicated ribbon. You also have what are known as the sections, which basically control what is being actually put to the template. So first of all, I put on this marker, which is called the Pilcrow, or the paragraph marker, and I'll explain why in a moment. You then select your selections. Now, there's many, many, many selections. Now, I would advise you always check the sections before you start putting anything in the template. There are occasions where the template will get corrupted through no fault of your own. So we have package. Now you've got to have package, otherwise nothing will come out. So we say package. And when we say package, we get the child packages as well. Now, whether you wish to iterate down the child packages is entirely up to you. But the side effect is, if we use a heading style here, for example, heading 1, then we go down into the child packages, heading 1 becomes heading 2, heading 2 becomes heading 3, and so on. So using the way that I create my templates and put them together, I very rarely, if ever, need child packages. Always control the sections by using the checkboxes. Now we can add the diagram. There. Okay, so you can get rid of the extraneous new line should you wish to. Now it tells you right click to insert package fields, right click to insert diagram field. Not true. It isn't. You don't. If you did, you get the field and the text. So what you need to do is select this, delete it, do that again. Be very careful with my mouse. And then you can right click and insert the field. For example, the package name. And here, whoops, we can insert the field. Now, you'll see there's a whole load of stuff you can actually produce. Most of it you'll never, ever publish, like the GUID, for example. But all I'm going to do, keep it nice and simple, diagram image, right? And I'll change this up here. And if you want to change the style, just bring down the style, drop down, and select your appropriate one. I'll just use a heading 2 for now, right? And if you want to center anything, you've got alignments, so you can align. And pretty much that's it. Don't forget to save the template. And now we can try it out. So, to our browser. It doesn't really matter which package we choose. We'll just choose a package. So if that's one we'll do, I'll press F8, function key F8. Up comes the dialog. Now there's many options in this dialog, and we don't have time to go through all the options. The help in this particular case is okay. EA chooses a default location for you, which you can always change, of course. It chooses a template. Do not use model report, please. You get everything and the kitchen sink published. So please remember to change that to the template you just created. In our case, ECP use case details. We don't need a cover page, so I'll just do that. We're not using star sheets. What I tend to do is view document on completion. I do not use internal viewer. And now, if all's gone according to plan, ka-ching, we have a document. Okay, it's not particularly exciting, but we have a document. And we can see the diagram. Now, before we go on to do something a little bit more exciting, a very quick word, the diagram. First of all, if you have more than one diagram in a package, every single diagram in that package will be output. If you look at the diagram properties, you'll see there are some options. Exclude image from documentation. So if you've got 20 diagrams in a package and don't want to publish all 20, you could use that checkbox to exclude some. But how do you remember which ones you've excluded and which ones you haven't? That's your problem to solve. And the contained element is to do with following the links, which we'll talk about in a moment. Divide diagram into multiple pages. Now, this is actually a cool feature. If you have a very large diagram, what EA will do is it will shrink it to fit an A4 page. However, if you check add divide diagram into multiple pages, you'll get a page per tile, which you can look at in the print preview. And this one, although theoretically you can mix landscape and portrait, I have not had much success in that in documentation generation. So I tend to use either all landscape or all portrait. So if you have a landscape diagram, rotate image will rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. So it will produce it down the page. Not ideal, but it's better than nothing. Right, so there we are. Those are the diagram options for you. So now let's up the ante. We want now to use elements. Now the easiest way is to use elements in the same package as the diagram, accessed by this element check here. But I'm not going to check it just yet, and I'll explain why in a moment. Let me expand the element. You'll see there's a massive amount of information there, most of which we don't need in common use. So I'm just outputting elements contained in the same package, not elements which are referred to by links on the diagram. That is actually more tricky than it sounds. So I'll leave that for the moment. I know many of you might need to do that, and maybe that's a question we can discuss in the Slack forum. Now you'll notice there's loads of elements here, and what I want to do is output the linked external requirements. I want to export the preconditions, postconditions, scenarios, but I don't want them in this order. Now, please do not check these checkboxes and then rearrange it. There's a bug. In EA16, it doesn't rearrange them correctly and leaves these tabs here unmapped. You're going to have serious issues. So if you do want them reorganized, then please reorganize them in some order now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my external requirements, and I'm going to move that down the page after that scenario. I'm going to move the scenario up between the constraint like that. So I've got constraint pre, scenario, constraint posts, and then I've got my external requirements. External requirements will work if you've related your element to a requirement using a realization or a SysML satisfy relationship. Good. Now we can fill in the blanks. Right, so elements. Now I don't use child elements, so I will uncheck that. I will do constraint pre. I'll do scenario, structure scenario, which allows me to access the individual lines of a use case. Constraint post and external. So there we are, just as we did before. So now, bear with me for the moment, I'm now going to put in some of the details here. So I'm going to put in a little bit of text. Details of use cases. I'll just put this text in. It shouldn't take too long. And we're almost there. Quite a lot of typing, I'm afraid, but at least you get to see how it's created, which is the objective here. Right. Now we're ready to fill in our text, our items. Now, what I thought it would be useful to do is to put a little table in. Now, tables can be arranged horizontally or vertically. So effectively, what I'm going to do is just take that straight out, and I'm going to put a table in. So I insert a table. On this particular table, it's going to be 2 rows and 2 columns. 2 rows and 2 columns. And sorry, I do apologize. It should be 3 rows. So I'll just insert another row here. Yep. So name, So this is going to be, obviously, what is going to be output, the author. And in here, we're going to put the notes like that. You can split that up there. And in here, we can put in insert field, the name, and insert field, the author, and insert field, the notes, like that. Now, this table can then be formatted, and you can do the border. Now, the border is measured in a weird unit called a twit, with 20th of a postscript point. All I'll say is 5 is kind of good value, right? The bigger the number, the fatter the line. And you can also, if you so desire, put in some colors. So we can do the cell color. So we can set the color. You can set the color to any RGB value or any standard color. I'm going to use 152 and 53. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because this is like a table house style. You could use this internally, and maybe you've got your own color schemes. You can put those in here. I'll just set the text to white. Right, there we go. Now, the precondition is just a straightforward name like that. So it's just the name of that. Scenarios, again, a little table. So that's we don't need, all we need here, we don't need anything much here. So we insert a field, which is in fact the scenario itself, which is the name. Then the type of the scenario, which is basic path, alternate, exception, etc. And then the table in here, another table. This is the longest template we'll be creating, so bear with us again. So this is 2 rows by 3 columns. And this, we don't need that new line, otherwise we'll get a new line in the table. And we're going to have a single header row here. So who, step, and the action, as you would expect in the structured scenario editor, like that. So I'll just move those over a bit. We need a bit more for the action, of course, because that's where it all is. The who is actually the type. The step is obviously the step. Now, it does take a while to get used to what element to choose from this menu, but most of them are self-explanatory, most of them. So again, we will do the cell border. So do all cells 5. So once you've done it once, it's quite straightforward to do it. 5, 5, 5. Again, we can do that. And then we can do the cell color, set the color 152, 53. Okay, and set the text to white. There we go, like that. Perfect. Now, one other thing is if you want to get the header row to repeat over the page break, you just select the header row and choose header row from the menu. Right, and we're almost done. So we just need the name of that. And then finally, the last table, which is going to be simply 2 by 2. And in here, for the table header, is the name of the requirement and the description, aka the notes. And then in here, insert field, name, insert field, notes. You've seen how I've done the borders already. So that's border color. So easy to get the wrong menu option. 555. Whoops, not 55. That'd be quite a big thick line. That's that one. And finally, whoops, finally, that bit there, which is going to be the cell color. Set color. Whoa, 152. Tab 53. And okay, and the final thing is going to be white. So that is a more comprehensive template. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to play it back and pause and rewind and so on. So let's see what happens. Okay, well, let's just use a different package for now. And I'm going to set the view basket, F8. Use case details, the same template, and generate. There's the diagram, and hey, that's not too bad. We got a nice little table of the details of the use case. We got the precondition, we got the scenarios, and wow, hey, although it's this as a hyperlink within in the Word document, it doesn't actually hyperlink unless that element is in the document. Okay, if I'm being picky, I need a few little extra new lines in here, but you get the idea, right? So there we are. Okay. Yeah, it needs a bit of tidying up, but as a first cut to get you off the ground, away you go. Right. So we've done a basic template. We've looked at the diagrams. So let's change direction. At the moment, we've just got EA's styles. For example, if I change this style to table heading and this style to table text normal, just for fun, you'll see it's not quite right. What I could do is I could basically change these as well, but time is pressing, so I'm not actually going to do that. So what I'm going to do now is change direction and show you a style sheet, So if we go into resources and we go ECP, create a template and say ECP style sheet. There's a star shape and it's in the group ECP. Right. So what you do is you'd examine your house style, make a note of what your settings are, the font size and so on, and then you'd simply add them in here, like heading 1, heading 2, normal, table heading, and table text normal, like that. So that we can get a good preview, it's essential to set this to the matching type. These are the defaults in EA. Or normal's normal. Heading, Where are we? Table heading. Oh, as you can see, there's loads of them. And finally, table text normal. Right. So now what you do is you select the one you want to modify and you go to edit and say edit style. Now this is really quirky. What it does is it records your changes. So when you select a bold face or italic face or whatever, it's recording that. And when you've finished and you click in this white space, it ends the recording and applies that style. Yeah, it is really bizarre. But once you get used to it, it's okay. And generally speaking, you only need to create a style sheet once. So I'll start recording and I'm going to change this to Arial. I'm going to change this to 16, like that. And I'm going to change the color to my house style color of, you guessed it, like that. And when I click inside the document, it allows me to preview that style. So I'll just go through and do a couple more for you. Edit style, heading 2, it's going to be the colors. It doesn't matter which way you do it. In fact, I'll just go through, do this Arial, like that. Arial, and this one's 14. Also, I'll just make it a little bit smaller, like that. There we go. And table text normal. With normal, I will edit, and that's just a change of font, basically. So I'll just change it from Times Roman, you guessed it, Arial, like this, and I'll make it 11, like that. Okay. Now, with the table text here, the table ones, I could leave them alone and just use normals all the way through my tables. But just to show you one, this one has actually got an indent. So you're going to move the indent there like that. So it's no indent. And then change this to Arial. Where are we? Arial. And then change that to 11. And then you'll see. And similarly, if I repeat this very quickly for the style for table text normal, I will simply get rid of that and change it to Arial. And there we are, and change it to Arial. I believe it's an Arial 11. Yeah, I like that. So this gives you a preview of your styles, which I now save. If I go back to the ECP use case details, I can right-click this and apply the style. And you'll see, hey, yeah, that's kind of cool. And yeah, it's done it. So it's updated the style, and I can regenerate that and so on. So yeah, I'm just looking at the time, and I just want to make sure that I've covered everything. What I'd like to do is, so that I don't leave off the more tricky bit, I'm going to do something now, which I was going to do a little bit later. And then I'll bring it all together, probably using one I did earlier, but talking you through it rather than you, so you can see exactly how I put it together. Because we say we've got 20 minutes, but I don't want to rush anything, but I do want to cover this one particular topic, which is always going to cause confusion. It's called a list override. Now, the moment we've got headings which are not numbered. Now, a lot of documents will have numbered headings, 1, 1.1.1, and so on. So what we can do is we can create this in EA. but it is really, really odd the way that it does it. It is not straightforward, and I'll be honest with you. It took me a while to master this, but once you've got the idea, and you only need to do it once, then you should be okay. And it's got a list override. So there are 3 steps. A, you create a list override. B, you edit it. And then finally, you edit the list level. So let's do that. And I strongly advise, so you can see the effect, we keep the style sheet open. You can't create a list override unless you have a template being visible. So the first stage is to create the list override by looking at Edit, Lists and Overrides, Create List Item. And it's a multi-level list called ECP list. ECP list. I don't use section breaks at all in my documents, but if you did, you could reset it. So that is now set up a list for us to work with. Step 2, we go to List and Overrides, Edit List Item. Sorry, so I do apologize. Create List Override. I do apologize. I have my notes here and I didn't read them correctly. Choose the one you just created and override levels. Right, ka-ching. We now edit the list levels. Whoops, wrong option. List overrides, edit list level. We get this large dialog. Generally speaking, pick the list you want to override, ECT table, and it gives you some default. It says the list level is 1, therefore the prefix will be 1. You can, if you wish, change this to be a space or a tab. Now it says here overwrite font attributes. Now I don't tend to do that, but I still check the number font just to make sure that I've got the Arial font selected. Right. Okay. Ka-ching. Now if I click OK, nothing happens. Don't worry, it will in a moment. So now I need to do exactly the same thing. Edit list override, edit list override, edit list level. For list level 2. And you'll see there, it's 1.x. I'm going to change that to a space. The number font should be that. And click OK. To apply, we simply edit the style and go here and say list numbering, ECP, and we get 1. Do the same here, edit style, choose list numbering, ECP, and it should be list level 2. It's 1.1. Bringo! Yes, which works. Wonderful stuff. So that is got all the building blocks except one. Except one. And that is the cover page. So we've now got list overrides, we've got a style sheet, and we've got a template. What you could also do is a cover page. Now, I'm going to create a cover page just to show you and talk you through one of the options on it. So if I just say test, because this is not one I'm going to use in the demonstration, for cover page, I'm going to copy EAs. It's one of the rare situations I copy the EA one. And I'll put it in easy. So you get this. So you get these gray areas, which are called report constants, and you can set these up, and you can also put in graphics and so on. So report date long, report author, report, most of these are created automatically, and some are created for you when you generate, or populated when you generate the document. So by changing these and putting your own graphics in, or using your own creativity, you'll get something like this. This is the one I did earlier to save a little time for our work. All right. So just before we put everything together with a model, let's just see that everything is working according to plan. So let's go back to the browser, go into the shopping package, function key F8. This time, choose the cover page. This time, choose the star sheet. We could see a bit of a change. Yes, there's the star sheet. And there's the cover page. All nicely formatted, all nicely done. Yeah, okay, cool. So we got a template, we got a cover page, got a style sheet, we got list overrides. So the last topic will be, well, how do you put it all together? So for this, I'm going to say, I'm going to open one I did earlier. It's always good to have one finished that you can refer to. Here we are. So here we have a number of templates which were created in exactly the same way as we did before. Now here is one which has just got text, but it must have the package section. Otherwise, nothing appears. Now, if you want to do headers and footers, very briefly, headers and footers. This one doesn't have a page header or footer. As long as one does, which I believe is the requirements heading. Yeah, so there is a header, a footer, which you can get by editing the header and footer like that. Now, the line across the top, I've done by using a table. So I've put this in a table and I put the boundary, the border on the top, which gives you a nice little line. You only need a header or a footer on one template, So how do you put it all together? Well, what you do is you create a model. Now, the model is known as a master document, model document, and you must have this in your perspective. So in your perspective, you must have this EA documentation, which is a subset of EA custom. You must have that in your perspective. You then create a new model route. Now, you're going to say, why do I put it in a model route? Well, simply, if you publish to HTML, you'll never include this. If you put a view under a single model route, this may be part of your HTML documentation, which you don't want. No, it's not compulsory you do this, but I always put my documentation in a separate model route. I then have a view per each per document. And then what you have is this thing called a master document, which basically you take from the toolbox, put it onto the diagram, it creates a package. This represents your document. Then the diagram associated with this package has one or more model documents. And the model documents are populated with two things. One or more packages. So you drag and drop a package individually to this. So you just take a package, drag it and drop it, and that package will be used to drive the template. So functional requirements, we have the same template applied repetitively to shopping, browsing, basket, etc., etc. You then use a tag value for the package, for the element, to apologize. And then you set that to be the template you wish. Right? So you can see there, and there. Right. And you can have as many of these as you wish, or as few of these as you wish. The only thing you must be careful of is that, as you well know, as EA users, EA puts elements in alphabetical order. So these may not be in the right sequence. So make sure in your package for your master document, these are in the right sequence for publication, and then you simply use the up arrow or down arrow to reorganize them. Finally, the cover page. Remember, the cover page had certain values: author, report title, report name. So you may be mystified, where do they come from? How do I get values in there? Well, they're actually tag values of the master document package. And there we are. My name, the system, requirements, version, final. So you just populate them as you wish. Yeah, cool. So now the final thing we just use, we don't select a package within browser, obviously, not in our model anyway. We point at the master document. Do not change the template. It should default as model document report, and EA will replace that with the templates it finds as it goes through the model documents. So now we just set the cover page, we set the star sheet, and we generate. So basically what it's doing is it's creating individual sections for each model document and then putting them together in a Word. So now we've got a nice table of our requirements. Look at that. Yeah. We got use cases. And these are the same template. I didn't cheat, by the way. These are the same templates I created live for you just a few moments ago. There's maybe tweaked a little bit with some new lines, but basically they are the same. The only thing I can see is I don't have the page numbers, but well, it would be a rare live demo if something didn't go quite right. But anyway, that's not a major issue. No, I'm not worried too much about that. There we go. And I won't go through the whole thing, but yeah. Now that is just using the very basic primitives of the documentation generator. But that document, although it's not the Rolls-Royce of documents, other cars are available, it's certainly not bad. And with a bit of practice, you could probably put that together with, half hour or so, and you can build upon this. So yeah. So where do we go from here, and what are the issues? Okay, so we go back to the PowerPoint for the final time. Wow. The next steps would be practice makes perfect. I know you've heard it many, many times, but it's really, really true. Have a go. I will upload the repository you've just seen. I will be uploading that to the Slack. So you're more than welcome to have a look at that, play around with it, manipulate the templates and play around with it and use it as a sandbox. Please feel free to do that. So I'll do that. I did notice one or two questions coming up. I will stay behind when this finishes in a couple of minutes and address those questions for you. So what is the major issue, and where you're going to hit the buffers, so to speak? Well, one of the issues is following the links from a diagram. Now you can set EA documentation generator to follow the links on the diagram. But what you get is only basic properties of an element. You can't say, here's a diagram, it refers to elements in a library, and those elements are related, and get all that information out. That is really hard, really hard. Because once you get to the related element, it ends. That's it. Then you've got the problem of filtering the elements. And there are element filters, but they tend to be a little bit unpredictable, I found in my experience. Relationships. Now we come to the major question. The template generator does handle relationships to and from a given element. It's in the element selection. So if we have a look at a template, we've got a couple of minutes. Right, so in the element section, there is a connector here. It allows you to access the source and target of a connector. So you could say, for example, follow the use case association and output by associated actors. Yeah, best of luck with that. What I found is it outputs all things. So it will do all relationships. There is a relationship filter, but it doesn't work. It's not reliable. I'm being honest with you. So realistically, if you want to do quite an advanced relationship output, you have to resort to a fragment, either a normal fragment or a script fragment. But we've only got a minute left. There's no way I can discuss that in a minute. So if there is interest, maybe same place, same time next year, and we'll do some fragments for you and some scripts. But for now, we hope you found everything useful. I hope I didn't rush through it too much. It is recorded, so please have a look back at the recording. I will upload the repository for you. And this documentation about templates and what we've done is available on the Sparx website, either in the online help or on the downloadable PDF documents. So it is 12 o'clock, so I better stop at the moment, otherwise I'll overrun. So thanks very much for your attendance today. Hope you found it useful, and in best of luck with all your documentation generation in the future. For now, thanks very much, and I wish you all the best and enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or whatever time zone you're on.
Thank you, Phil, for generously sharing your profound ideas and principles on document generation in EA with us today. I would also like to
You're more
express
than
my
welcome.
sincere gratitude to our engaged audience. Your participation has been remarkable and we truly appreciate your contributions. And if you have any questions or wish to delve deeper into the topic, we have created a dedicated Slack channel just for you. This is your golden opportunity to connect directly with Phil, share your thoughts, and engage in meaningful discussions. If you haven't already joined the meeting room on the Slack, please do so by following the link provided in the chat box. Our speaker is eagerly looking forward to continuing the conversation and addressing your queries, so please don't hesitate to jump in and make the most out of this opportunity within Slack's meeting room. Once again, a heartfelt thank you for your active participation, and I eagerly anticipate seeing you in the Slack channel, and of course, in our future sessions throughout the summit. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.